In a survey that was conducted about 2 years ago, only 20% of Americans were aware of GMOs. But what is a GMO and how can we avoid them? Joining us with more is 22 News Registered Dietitian Nancy Dell. Now that's between 20 and 30% of Americans don't know what a GMO is, and we should.
Right. People know a little bit more today. Organic foods have increased 80% in sales because people are trying to avoid GMOs. So they're becoming more and more aware. But even when I did research to update for this story, there were a few things I found out that I said, holy cow, I didn't know that.
Or I think it's, you know they're bad, but why? Why should we avoid them, and what can they do to us? So there really are new in foods. I mean, not for very long have they been in foods, so you don't really know the long-term risk.
Right. So first, genetically modified foods are GMOs. So what happens is a researcher sees that there is a plant, an animal, a virus that can resist a disease, or it can resist drought, or it can resist heat. And they say, oh, let's find the gene in that organism that can do this. Let's replicate it in the lab and put it in another food. Now that food has the property of resisting drought or heat or a disease or an insect. And the advantage is the farmer can have a larger crop, food gets less expensive.
Mm-hmm. Right, but they have tested the GMOs in animals and it doesn't have a very good result on your body.
Right, so the tests in animals show that it can damage your immune system, your liver, and your kidney. No human studies yet, but we show it in animals. And FDA does not require that there are food safety tests done on GMO foods. Now, the World Health Organization and other worldwide organizations do require it. They have very specific steps to take. There are 60 countries in the world that have required GMO foods be labeled. In the U.S., that is not the case. Vermont has passed it. Connecticut has passed it. We're waiting for Massachusetts to hopefully pass it. You know, so each state has to pass their own law that they want to label GMO foods. Mm-hmm. So you have advantages that you're getting more production, and there are other small advantages. Like, for example, just recently FDA approved a genetically modified potato. And the genetically modified potato will not bruise, but also when you fry it to make a potato chip or French fries, it will not form the compound on the outside that is actually a cancer-causing compound. People may not realize that frying potatoes can form a cancer-causing compound. But people are concerned, obviously, because it's genetically modified. And as an example, McDonald's has refused to use that potato in their French fries. So, you know, it goes back and forth between groups.
What's better to do?
Disadvantages.
Exactly. And the same thing with salmon.
Well, the salmon is here because there is now a proposal in front of FDA to approve a genetically modified salmon that will grow 2 times faster. So, great for production. The problem is, if this very aggressive salmon gets out in the wild, could it do something like, you know, take over the wild salmon? Now we have no wild salmon, we only have genetically modified. And again, do the genetically modified components affect our immune system, our liver, and our kidney? Mm-hmm. So the other concern is the insecticide versus the herbicide.
Right.
So you have foods that now are genetically modified where they cannot be attacked by insects, so the farmer can grow more. But so while insecticide use has been cut dramatically, mm-hmm. herbicide use to kill weeds, Roundup specifically, has increased 10 times what it was before there were GMOs, which is, by the way, in the mid-1990s. This has only been a little over 15 years that we've had genetically modified foods. So can you really say what they do, you know, in 15 years?
It's hard to say. Yeah, it's only been 15 years.
If I had a young child, I wouldn't, you know, what's going to happen by the time they're 15?
Right.
So, so what does Roundup have to do with this whole thing? So you can use herbicides now to kill off the weeds because it's not going to kill the plants. They've been genetically modified to resist this. Well, the problem that we're seeing now is we have super weeds. That the weeds have adapted and now can resist Roundup, and farmers are battling super weeds. So
So it seems like it's an endless battle trying to find what is the best way, the best option. Maybe we should have just stuck with what we had 15 years ago and not introduced genetically modified organisms. But we do know that we should probably try to avoid them. And there are certain foods that you say we need to absolutely avoid if we're trying to keep GMOs out of our diet.
If you have a food in your pantry and it is not labeled non-GMO, it probably is a GMO food.
Okay, so later in the show, we're going to tell you the top foods you want to avoid when you're trying to keep GMOs out of your diet. So we'll be back with Nancy Dell in just a bit. We're back with 22 News Registered Dietitian Nancy Dell. We're talking about the top foods you want to avoid because they contain GMOs and what to look for in the list of ingredients so you know that you don't eat those foods.
Right. So earlier in the show we said that if you are eating a food and it does not say non-GMO on it or organic, it probably is GMO. They're that common. And there really are 4 main foods to look for.
Okay.
So the first one is corn. We do not have to worry about popcorn or corn on the cob, frozen corn, canned corn. The corn we eat is regular corn like that, or popcorn, is not genetically modified. But when we take the corn to make tortilla chips, crackers with corn, that is genetically modified.
Corn syrup?
Corn syrup. So corn syrup is everywhere. It's in all your soft drinks. It can be just a little bit in foods just to add the sweetness because they know it makes foods a little more addictive.
Yes.
But why would you think it would be in spices? So you have either corn flour to keep it from sticking or sometimes citric acid. The additive citric acid is made from corn. Riboflavin that is added to breads or enhance that B vitamin is made from corn and will be genetically modified.
My goodness.
So the taco seasoning, you can see in the taco seasoning there's corn flour, but there's also citric acid. So citric acid is going to be in so many things. I look for roasted red peppers or a jar of artichokes. It has citric acid in it. So it's really hard to avoid. Also,
yes, it
if
is hard
you
to
use
avoid.
any aspartame, it has corn, genetically modified corn in it.
So what about corn starch? Anything with corn
Anything
in
with
it?
corn. Cornmeal, corn starch, and we use corn in everything. So anything from spices to the obvious corn chip.
But now if we bought all of this that you're mentioning, like taco seasoning, tortilla chips, crackers, if we buy them organic, they cannot have GMOs.
Correct.
So there's a benefit of definitely sticking with organic.
And now you'll see ones that will say non-GMO, and we'll see that kind of towards the end of our display here.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about. So here we're moving on to, I see cereal bars.
Okay, so this is soy. 90% of soy is genetically modified. So soy sauce, soybean oil, which again can be used in everything from a cracker to a chip to a salad that maybe is at the deli. You don't know. But I put 2 things here that you might not think of as soy sources, cereal and a protein bar. So if you look, most of those foods are going to have soy protein isolate, and that soy protein isolate will be genetically modified unless it is organic or specifically says non-GMO.
Wow. And even something like edamame, you think it's a healthy, a healthy treat, a healthy snack, but even that can have GMOs in it.
Right, so edamame is just the whole soybean. This one I particularly looked for because you can't see anything on there that says organic or non-GMO. It's very tiny on the back.
Let's show that. I'm going to actually turn this around just so that everyone knows. So if you are shopping and you want to know what to look for if you're looking for things that don't have GMO, right here in the corner it does say non-GMO.
Yeah,
so
I would have put that right in the front, you know.
I know. Maybe they really should move that to right in the front because more and more people are going to be looking for these things so that they are avoiding GMOs in their diet because like you said, it's only been around 15 years and we don't know what's going to happen, how it's going to affect our body.
We are what we eat. So the food literally becomes part of ourselves. So if it's genetically modified, we may be genetically modified.
Which is kind of terrifying, right?
Yeah.
We don't want that to happen. Now moving on to over here, I see canola oil, more oils. And,
so those are both canola oils. Canola oil stands for Canadian oil. It's actually made from the rapeseed. It just wasn't a very appealing name. So they changed it to canola oil because most comes from Canada. And it is very genetically modified unless you buy organic. And there are 2 stores that you can get non-GMO foods from. The Trader Joe's brand as well as the 365 brand from Whole Foods. They refuse to use GMO products.
And that's what you want to look for. And of course, whenever you see something that is organic, like on the end here, the corn chips that are there, those are examples of things that you can get without GMOs in them.
But then you have the sugar beet. So sugar beet is the fourth of the top 4 that give us GMOs. And sugar beet, again, it can be granulated sugar. It can be sugar that's in any cereal, cracker, bread, anything. So it's going to be genetically modified. It just gives you another reason to avoid sugar. You know, and then you have a few other things that aren't as big: the cottonseed, the Hawaiian Hawaiian papaya. Zucchini and summer squash are on the list. However, in my research for this segment, I found that the seeds really don't work so great, so they're not using them. So I didn't eat zucchini and summer squash for like 2 years. I'm eating it again because I couldn't find it organic, you know, but now I'm eating it again.
So it's not, even if they're, right, so you're finding that the seeds, they didn't work, the genetically modified, so it's okay to just buy the ones that you find. So
you're okay with the zucchini and the summer squash.
Thank you for this information, Nancy Dell. Don't forget to check your labels, try to avoid foods high in GMOs, and if you can, buy organic.
Yep.
Great information, we appreciate it. And you can find this entire list and this entire segment again on our website, mymassivefield.com.